Hi there, it's Oliver at Databowl, and today I'm going to go over and show you how to create a Pingtree campaign. The basic principles are you have a Pingtree campaign that the data is received into, and then we'll distribute to two other campaigns, which are your buyer campaigns. Within those two campaigns, you can set up any rules, conditions, any caps that you have for the campaign. So to get started, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to create a campaign here. I'll call it Test PT. And I will make it a Pingtree campaign, define the country and the currency, and then at the bottom here I can choose if it's all campaigns, the first matching campaign, or specify a number. In this case I'll make it the first matching campaign and I'll create the campaign. So the next step would be to add the fields, add a supplier. In this case we'll just activate this source here, and then you can configure and add any of the fields that you require. So if I wanted to add another field, let's call it state, for example. What I would then do is I would go ahead and create the buyer. So if I go buyer 1, so this is essentially our client, and in this case it's a lead gen campaign, and I would create that. And the best thing to do here would be to copy over the fields from the existing campaign that you just created, the Pingtree campaign. So there's an option here to select the campaign. So if I type in PT, I can copy the fields over, and that way we know we've got exactly the same fields mapped. We'll activate the source, and then again, I'm not going to go over this now, but you could then enable your custom deduplication, put any specific rules that you have, apply a cap on the campaign, and again enable the forwarding, which is the delivery to the client in this section here for the buyer. What I'll now do is I'll create buyer 2. So buyer 2, same principle, creating it all the same, and then I can either copy over from buyer 1 or from the Pingtree, because they both have the same fields. I'll copy all the fields over, I'll activate the source, and again, if I wanted to, I'd configure all the details, any caps, any rules that I have specific for this campaign here. Then what I would do is I would go back to my Pingtree campaign, and then all I'd need to do is add those two campaigns into the Pingtree. So I pick here, and I find my buyer 1, and I add that, and I can either do it by order or by weight. So we'll add that in by weight, and then this option here will just go through and map all the fields. As everything's already exactly the same, all the fields, you don't have to worry. Age is computed, so we don't need to map that. But again, all the fields, because we copied them from the campaign, are mapped accordingly. If you have validation on the campaign, say for example phone validation, and one client wants that record, say they can accept ones with bad email addresses, you can basically enable or disable this required valid fields. So essentially here, if I enable them all, it just means that it is only going to send good leads over essentially. Again, we have some scenarios where one buyer might only take your phone, the other one will take email, so again there's no need to reject the lead if it's valid in some circumstances, if that's what you wish to do. And then the next step would be to add the buyer 2 to the campaign. In the same principle, we can skip through this, we can enable all here, and then we can finish. So now we have two campaigns, and at the moment we can just apply an even weighting. The weighting basically adds up the numbers and then of where a record can physically deliver the lead to, and applies that relevant weighting. So there's a 50-50 weighting here because it's a 1-to-1 and there's only two buyers in the campaign. And that's it. So they're all active, they're all enabled. Again, if you have any more buyers, you'd simply create the campaigns and then add them back into the Pingtree. And again, if you want to enable any validation here, you can simply enable them in the field section. And that's how you'd go about creating a Pingtree campaign.